The Golden Fleece, Part 8, from the Tanglewood Tales. I forbid you on pain of death to make any more attempts to get the Golden Fleece. To speak my mind plainly, you shall never set eyes on so much as one of its glistening locks. Jason left the king's presence in great sorrow and anger. He could think of nothing better to be done than to summon together his 49 brave Argonauts, march at once to the Grove of Mars, slay the dragon, take possession of the Golden Fleece, get on board the Argo, and spread all sail for Iolcus. The success of the scheme depended, it is true, on the doubtful point whether all the 50 heroes might not be snapped up at so many mouthfuls by the dragon. But as Jason was hastening down the palace steps, the Princess Medea called after him and beckoned him to return. Her black eyes shone upon him with such a keen intelligence that he felt as if there were a serpent peeping out of them. And although she had done him such a service only the night before, he was by no means very certain that she would not do him an equally great mischief before sunset. These enchantresses, you must know, are never to be depended upon. "What says King Aeetes, my royal and upright father?" inquired Medea, slightly smiling. "Will he give you the Golden Fleece without any further risk or trouble?" "On the contrary," answered Jason, "he is very angry with me for taming the brazen bulls and sowing the dragon's teeth, and he forbids me to make any more attempts and positively refuses to give up the Golden Fleece whether I slay the dragon or no." "Yes, Jason," said the princess, "and I can tell you more. Unless you set sail for Colchis before tomorrow's sunrise, the king means to burn your 50-oared galley and put yourself and your 49 brave companions to the sword. But be of good courage. The Golden Fleece you shall have if it lies within the power of my enchantments to get it for you. Wait for me here an hour before midnight." At the appointed hour, you might again have seen Prince Jason and Princess Medea side by side, stealing through the streets of Colchis on their way to the sacred grove in the center of which the Golden Fleece was suspended to a tree. While they were crossing the pasture ground, the brazen bulls came toward Jason, lowing, nodding their heads, and thrusting forth their snouts, which, as other cattle do, they loved to have rubbed and caressed by a friendly hand. Their fierce nature was thoroughly tamed, and with their fierceness the two furnaces in their stomachs had likewise been extinguished, insomuch that they probably enjoyed far more comfort in grazing and chewing their cuds than ever before. Indeed, it had heretofore been a great inconvenience to these poor animals that whenever they wished to eat a mouthful of grass, the fire out of their nostrils had shriveled it up before they could manage to crop it. How they contrived to keep themselves alive is more than I can imagine. But now, instead of emitting jets of flame and streams of sulphurous vapor, they breathe the very sweetest of cow breath. After kindly patting the bulls, Jason followed Medea's guidance into the Grove of Mars, where the great oak trees that had been growing for centuries threw so thick a shade that the moonbeams struggled vainly to find their way through it. Only here and there a glimmer fell upon the leaf-strewn earth, or now and then a breeze stirred the boughs aside and gave Jason a glimpse of the sky, lest in that deep obscurity he might forget that there was one overhead. At length, when they had gone farther and farther into the heart of the duskiness, Medea squeezed Jason's hands. "Look yonder," she whispered. "Do you see it?" Gleaming among the venerable oaks, there was a radiance not like the moonbeams, but rather resembling the golden glory of the setting sun. It proceeded from an object which appeared to be suspended at about a man's height from the ground, a little further within the woods. "What is it?" asked Jason. "Have you come so far to seek it?" exclaimed Medea, "and you do not recognize the meed of all your toils and perils when it glitters before your eyes? It is the Golden Fleece." Jason went onward a few steps further, and then stopped to gaze. Oh, how beautiful it looked, shining with a marvelous light of its own, that inestimable prize which so many heroes had longed to behold, but had perished in the quest of it, either by the perils of their voyage or by the fiery breath of the brazen-lunged bulls. How gloriously it shines, cried Jason in a rapture. It has surely been dipped in the richest gold of sunset. Let me hasten onward and take it to my bosom. Stay, said Media, holding him back. Have you forgotten what guards it? To say the truth, in the joy of beholding the object of his desires, the terrible dragon had quite slipped out of Jason's memory. Soon, however, something came to pass that reminded him what peril were still to be encountered. An antelope that probably mistook the yellow radiance for sunrise came bounding fleetingly through the grove. He was rushing straight toward the Golden Fleece when suddenly there was a frightful hiss, and the immense head and half the scaly body of the dragon was thrust forth, for he was twisted around the trunk of the tree in which the fleece hung, and seizing the poor antelope, swallowed him with one snap of his jaws. After this feat, the dragon seemed sensible that some other living creature was within reach on which he felt inclined to finish his meal. In various directions, he kept poking his ugly snout among the trees, stretching out his neck a terrible long way, now here, now there, now close to the spot where Jason and the princess were hiding behind an oak. Upon my word, as the head came waving and undulating through the air and reached almost within an arm's length of Prince Jason, it was a very hideous and uncomfortable sight. The gape of his enormous jaws was nearly as wide as the gateway of the king's palace. Well, Jason, whispered Media, for she was as ill-natured as all enchantresses are and wanted to make the bold youth tremble. What do you think now of your prospect of winning the Golden Fleece? Jason answered only by drawing his sword and making a step forward. Stay, foolish youth, said Media, grasping his arm. Do not you see you are lost without me as your good angel? In this gold box I have a magic potion, which will do the dragon's business far more effectually than your sword. The dragon had probably heard the voices, for swift as lightning, his black head and forked tongue came hissing among the trees again, darting full 40 feet at a stretch. As it approached, Media tossed the contents of the gold box right down the monster's wide-open throat. Immediately, with an outrageous hiss and a tremendous wriggle, flinging his tail up to the tip-top of the tallest tree and shattering all its branches as it crashed heavily down again, the dragon fell at full length upon the ground and lay quite motionless. It is only a sleeping potion, said the enchantress to Prince Jason. One always finds a use for these mischievous creatures sooner or later, so I did not wish to kill him outright. Quick, snatch the prize and let us be gone. You have won the Golden Fleece. Jason caught the fleece from the tree and hurried through the grove, the deep shadows of which were illuminated as he passed by the golden glory of the precious object that he bore along. A little way before him, he beheld the old woman whom he had helped over the stream, with her peacock beside her. She clapped her hands for joy and, beckoning him to make haste, disappeared among the duskiness of the trees. Espying the two winged sons of the north wind, who were disporting themselves in the moonlight a few 100 feet aloft, Jason bade them tell the rest of the Argonauts to embark as speedily as possible. But Lynceus, with his sharp eyes, had already caught a glimpse of him, bringing the Golden Fleece, although several stone walls, a hill, and the black shadows of the Grove of Mars intervened between. By his advice, the heroes had seated themselves on the benches of the galley with their oars held perpendicularly, ready to fall into the water. As Jason drew near, he heard the talking image calling to him with more than ordinary eagerness in its grave, sweet voice. Make haste, Prince Jason. For your life, make haste. With one bound, he leaped aboard. At the sight of the glorious radiance of the Golden Fleece, the 49 heroes gave a mighty shout, and Orpheus, striking his harp, sang a song of triumph, to the cadence of which the galley flew over the water, homeward bound, as if careening along with wings. And we've reached the end of the Golden Fleece and the Tanglewood Tales. Thanks so much for listening. Please reach down, click like, subscribe to our channel, and join us in our next video. I love you guys. As Tigger says, ta-ta for now.